This is my guitar. It was given to me probably around 20 years ago by my dad. My dad was not only a musician himself, but he was involved in the music industry for years. He recorded artists like Delamitri, Deacon Blue, Wet Wet Wet, and a myriad of other artists. And when he was playing an instrument, when he picked up my guitar in particular, you couldn't talk to him. It was almost like when he was playing the guitar, he went somewhere else. It was like he was so engulfed in the music itself that was the only thing that was in his conscious mind. And recently I picked up my guitar for the first time in God knows how long. And it got me thinking about that. And I thought, that'd be a great premise or like a concept film. So luckily, I know an incredible luthier, a guy named Tom Sands, who's based in Yorkshire. Tom is not only a great guy, but he is incredibly skilled. And I mean, he has a waiting list. The guitars themselves are beautiful, and the craftsmanship is just another level. As I do with most of these ideas, I phoned Gareth. We had a chat about the whole thing. I gave him a kind of rough idea, and then we kind of whittled the idea down to when you are playing a Tom Sands guitar, you are taken to some other place. Almost like a transcendental experience, you know, you're transported to somewhere else. Peace, calm, tranquility, just you and the guitar.
After speaking to Tom, we embarked on a 2-day shoot. Shoot day 1 was in Tom's workshop in Yorkshire.
What's happening, giggly bits? You better talk to the camera.
Yeah, man, it's a good day for it. Good day on our way to England.
Yes, boy.
Just over the border. Probably 55 minutes out from Ripon.
Aye, I've been ripping a few times.
Oh, so it's, I don't know, probably 9 o'clock. We're probably going to get there at 10ish.
Yep.
Get on the ground, brief with Tom, set up the first of the shots. Kind of go through some of the stuff with Tom that we talked about. Kind of get his perspective a little. Then decide on the shoot, like what we're going to do once we've seen the place. We'll try and set up the first of the shots. We'll obviously discuss the shoot process, but probably it's going to be fairly linear, I would imagine. There's not going to be any...
Not crazy.
Nothing crazy. I don't think there's nothing special that requires that in terms of lighting, etc. But we need, first and foremost, we need a look at Tom's gubbins. Tom, we need to see Tom's area. It's not going to be better. Tom, well, I see your tools, my man. No,
I want to see where Tom does his best work. Where's your handy?
Tom, where do you keep your wits? We need to see the workshop.
We need to see your handy work.
We need to see how you live, Tom. We need to see what the workshop's like, because that will dictate a lot of what we're going to do in terms of shooting it. But the idea is we're going to shoot a shot of the workshop being opened and him coming in his work in the morning. So lights going on, some detail, general shot of the room. We're probably then going to get a sit down with Tom and kind of discuss him a little bit and a little bit of the process.
That's the big Gareth Fox.
Signing up. Thank you, good night. That's that.
The plan had been, on the road down south, was to talk the project through start to finish, like professionals. Instead, Gareth and I opted for a different tact, which was to talk utter nonsense for 4 hours. But anyway, we eventually arrived in Ripon. Inside the workshop, we spoke to Tom about what motivates him and how he became a luthier.
I'm more interested in like the creative process and like the designing and like developing, and I'm like I get quite excited about jumping forward and doing that. I mean, you know, I'm really like, okay, cool, I know how that works now, let's do the next thing, You know, I do really enjoy the work. I think for me it's like the creative process is what I love. I wrote to craftspeople all over the world that I really admired. And one of them was this guy Irvin in California, and he invited me over to do an interview for an apprenticeship. And so that was it. And I went and spent like 2 weeks with him. I slept on the workshop floor, and it was like, you know, just spent 2 weeks, and then he was like, right, do you want to come move to California and come work with me? He was somebody who was like right at the top of his tree, you know, doing really creative, really beautiful work, and I just had this opportunity to go and work with him. With the guitar, like, you've got to design a beautiful thing. It's got to look good, but it's got to feel good, it's got balance, it's got to sound good. And then, you know, the magic for me is when you finish the guitar, you never really know if it's what it's going to sound like. Like, you never know what it's going to sound like. You have an idea of like where it's going to go, but you're never 100% certain. You can do, you know, acoustic measurements, and you can, but like literally until you put the strings, you just don't know. I mean, you have a good idea of whether it's going to be responsible. But then the thing that's amazing to me is then you have this finished item with all this potential, and then you can give it to, you know, you could play it, I could play it. We're all going to get different things out of it. It's amazing, like, how a really great instrument can inspire somebody to produce their magnum opus. You know, it can really unlock things.
I always find that when working with someone, it is really important to get to know their story. Not only does this break down that stranger barrier and put them at ease, but it also shapes the approach, along with dictating what the end product will look like.
Do you want to explain to us what you're doing right now?
No, thank you. For the first section of the shoot, we really wanted to emphasise the focus and Tom's attention to detail. We did this by using a snoot on our key light, which highlighted the area Tom was working on. We then brought the fill light down to increase the contrast between the foreground and the background. This was done to signify Tom's focus on that particular part of the build. With the first stage filmed and photographed, the next stage was to film Tom playing the guitar. This was going to be the transition point in the film where he starts to play and then he is transported to this other location. The challenge was, how do we convey that in a film without using VFX? The solution was to use a couple of different lens filters and glass prisms to create a dreamlike look where the light would distort and streak. This would give it another worldly look. With day one completed, Gareth and I headed back to Scotland. I was really happy with what was captured. Getting the opportunity to use different lighting, lens filters and fog to construct a narrative was a real pleasure, and the success of the shoot made the thought of day two all the more exciting. Here are a few of my favourite images. The second shoot day was going to take place in the early hours on the banks of Loch Lomond, between Balmaha and Riverdennon.
What are we making for dinner for us this evening?
We're making venison, sausages and mash.
That Tom said, son! Alright. How you doing, bro? Alright.
Day two was a very early start. Tom and I left Perthshire just after 2 AM and made our way to meet Gareth down at Loch Lomond.
This Tam Sands, cutting a bit. Tom, see when I said to you a while back, I've got this idea for this concept film. Mate, how perfect is this? We've got all the camera stuff prepped. Then what we're going to do, the first shot we're going to do is we're going to get Tom sitting in the water.
Keen.
How do you feel about that, Tom? You feel it strong? So we'll get Tom sitting in the water now. You've noticed there's a little bit of har along the surface, right? So we'll get you sitting on that. The first shot we're going to do is we're going to do the pick-up from when we were in your workshop, where we were shooting with that filter.
Yes.
Right, so we're going to do that because that was a
That's when I tell you I've not brought it.
I know, and I'm absolute guys. But then that's the transition point. So the transition point being when you're playing it, and then it gets all kind of mystical and ethereal.
Yes.
And we pick that up here to do the close-ups of the guitar with that first.
So that's why we need the welly boots.
That's why we need the Wellingtons, right? And then what we're going to do from there is we'll get the gimbal set up. And we will do kind of push and pull stuff.
Yep.
And then the last thing we're going to do is the drone.
Did you?
At that point, there's more light.
Slightly more light, yeah. Did you not want to shoot, like you were saying, with the kind of streaky filter? Did you not want to do it with and without, just to be sure?
Yeah, because that streaky filter's only to act as, you know, coming in and out.
In and out of the dream.
Out of the dream, mate. That's
Okay. I'm like feet in the water for an extended period of time, so why don't we just have him in the water, feet on one of those rocks that's just breaking the surface.
Yeah, we just need to
and then he's not getting wet, and that's going to be a lot more comfortable for him.
So his feet will be out of the water as he's playing. So if we can make sure we can put it into the water up to here.
Watch out for the killer pipe, Tom, that's the only thing.
This thing. Cut.
Aye. She's come down on her holidays.
I can say we've got the shore.
Yeah.
Here. Then Tom. Then us here. Then we'll have the drone doing like a parallax for behind the scenes. And what I'm thinking is just to make it look like this a sort of light sneaking in, that we've either got one of these LEDs 45 degrees in front of them, on left or on right, but they're far back enough so it doesn't look like artificial light.
Yeah. That sounds cool.
And it's just enough to separate them from the background.
Yeah. Like your feet are in the water.
Aye, but big cams will be like that.
It's quite a common phrase as well.
But
a dog eating beetroot.
I know, what does it mean?
I don't know.
You ever seen a dog eating beetroot?
Never.
Ferocious.
I've never seen much of a dog eating any vegetable.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Take a bit of cheese off you, Dave.
I'll take a bit. I've ever seen it. I'll take a bit of cheese off you.
You don't look like Olivia Giroux as much anymore.
No. Because of the fucking load of vomit I used to have, that's a problem.
The tide's going out.
The tide's going out.
This has got to be one of the most surreal things I've ever done. Check the ground for haggis nests.
So Don, did you know, are you familiar with the Great Scottish Haggis?
No.
No. Well, this here is a sort of typical sign. But this is for your more rural haggis.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
You get inner city haggis.
you get urban haggis.
They're like the vicious ones.
Yeah, so the urban haggis is slightly smaller.
All right.
To evade, you know, the law. And then, but the sort of ones you get out, the sort of rural haggis are, they're just a bit beefier. They've got a bit more on the bone because they have to deal with cold temperatures quite a lot. The funny thing is, you only get them next to fresh water. They dissolve in salt water, like a barocca in the rain.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, the ecology in this area. Haggis are I mean, you very rarely see them now. Right, that's us. Tom, you ready for a rolling sausage?
We called it a day just after the sun had passed the tops of the mountains and headed home. Here are a few of my favourite images. Making time for these projects has become very important to me. Not just because they're designed to try new methods, techniques, and ultimately push myself out my comfort zone, but also it's so rewarding working with your friends towards a common goal. So with that in mind, this is our concept film for Tom Sands Guitars.